Namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye Shrinatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana Sadanto striyapatrani vidunoti saraswatam Nashtaprayeshu apatreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Verse 31. Esa eva hi lokanam shiva panta sanatana yam purve chanu santastu yat pramanam janadana. Synonym. Esha, the Vedas. Eva, certainly. He, for lokanam, of all people. Shiva, auspicious. Pantaha, path. Sanatana, eternal. Yam, which Vedic path. Purve, in the past. Cha, and Anusannastu was rigidly followed. Yat, in which. Pramana, the evidence. Janardana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardhan, the well-wisher of all living entities. Purport: in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has claimed that he is the father of all living entities, regardless of form. There are 8,400,000 different species of life forms, and Lord Krishna claims that he is the father of all. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are all sons of the Lord, and for their benefit, because they are hovering under the impression that they can lord it over material nature, the Vedas are given to them for their guidance. Therefore, the Vedas are called Apurusheya, for they are not written by any man or demigod, including the first living creature, Brahma. Brahma is not the creator or author of the Vedas. He is also one of the living beings in this material world. Therefore, he does not have the power to write or speak the Vedas independently. Every living entity within this material world is subject to 4 deficiencies. He commits mistakes, he accepts one thing for another, he cheats, and he has imperfect senses. The Vedas, however, are not written by any living creature within this material world. Therefore, they are said to be Apurusheya. No one can trace out the history of the Vedas. Of course, modern human civilization has no chronological history of the world or the universe, and it cannot present actual historical facts older than 3,000 years. But no one has traced out when the Vedas were written, because they were never written by any living being within this material world. All other systems of knowledge are defective because they have been written or spoken by men or demigods who are products of this material creation. But Bhagavad Gita is Apurusheya, for it was not spoken by any human being or any demigod of this material creation. It was spoken by Lord Krishna, who is beyond the material creation. That is accepted by such stalwart scholars as Shankaracharya, not to speak of other acharyas such as Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. Shankaracharya has accepted that Narayana and Krishna are transcendental, and in Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna has established Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. This material creation, including Brahma and Shiva and all the demigods, has been created by him, for everything has emanated from him. He also says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand him. Vedesha sarver aham eva vedya. He is the original Vedavit or knower of the Vedas, and Vedanta Krit or compiler of Vedanta. Brahma is not the compiler of the Vedas. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is established, Tene Brahma Hrida, the supreme absolute truth. The personality of Godhead instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge through his heart. Therefore, the evidence that Vedic knowledge is free from the defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfection is that it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, and thus has been followed from time immemorial, beginning from Brahma. The Vedic religion of the principles or the principles of the Vedas have been followed by the highly cultured population of India since time immemorial. No one can trace out the history of Vedic religion. Therefore, it is Sanatana. And any blasphemy against the Vedas is calculated to be atheism. The Vedas are described as Setu, which means a bridge. If one wants to attain spiritual existence, one has to cross an ocean of nations. And the Vedas are the bridge by which to cross such a great ocean. The Vedas describe how to divide the human race into 4 divisions according to quality and working capacity. This is a very scientific system, and it is also called Sanatana. For no one can trace out its history, and it has dissolution. No one can stop the system of Varna and Ashrama or the caste of division. For example, whether or not one accepts the name Brahmana, there is a class in society which is known as the intelligent class, which is interested in spiritual understanding and philosophy. Similarly, there is a class of men who are interested in administration and in ruling others. In the Vedic system, these martially spirited men are called Kshatriyas. Similarly, everywhere there is a class of men who are interested in economic development, business, industry, and money making. They are called Vaishyas. And there is another class who are neither intelligent nor martially spirited nor endowed with the capacity for economic development, but who simply can serve others. They are called Shudras or the laborer class. This system is Sanatana. It comes from the time immemorial and it will continue in the same way. There is no power in the world which can stop it. Therefore, since the Sanatana Dharma system is eternal, one can elevate himself to the highest standard of spiritual life by following the Vedic principles. It is stated that formerly the sages followed the system. Therefore, to follow the Vedic system is to follow the standard etiquette of society. But the followers of Lord Shiva, who are drunkards, who are addicted to intoxicants and sex life, who do not bathe and who smoke ganja, are all against human etiquette. The conclusion is that persons who rebel against the Vedic principles are themselves the evidence that the Vedas are authoritative. Because by not following the Vedic principles, they become like animals. Such animalistic persons are themselves evidence of the supremacy of the Vedic regulations. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Adeshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. For my obeisances and to all the devotees, virtually and in person, thank you for giving me this opportunity for my own purification. And please forgive me for any of my own interpretations while speaking on these verses. So while preparing for this, I took some notes from Burijan Prabhu's Surrender Unto His Lotus Feet, which explains really about all the Srimad Bhagavatam verses and all the details. So right now in this section, right, I think we have been hearing so much about this. Different devotees have been explaining all the different, the series of events that happened, right, all this time. So let me just see, I just took some notes here. I can just go from there. So Vidura was inquiring about Sati's death, right? So like what happened, like, and how come they didn't have any further kids and all that? So what happened? And so they was asking about that, and Maitreya began narrating the events, what happened. And like we saw, a lot of that was already described. There was this big huge arena of sacrifice that was happening, and then Daksha came in, everybody got up. Lord Shiva did not acknowledge because he was so deep in meditation onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, by the traditional thing and the cultural thing, because Lord Shiva was the son-in-law of Daksha, he he was expecting that he should get up and offer him respect. So that didn't happen. He got very upset, very angry, and he cursed the following words. He said that demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva cannot participate. Can you imagine? Like, he is saying that Lord Shiva cannot participate, all other demigods can do it. Actually, this statement in turn really comes to be a blessing for Lord Shiva, because we see right later what happens: curses, counter curses, and everybody that was remaining in that sacrificial arena to continue the yajna, they were all materialistic anyways. And Lord Shiva is such highly elevated. He's like the topmost Vaishnava. So in a way, this curse comes to be a blessing, because Lord Shiva was not a right fit anyways to be in that sacrificial arena. And then later we'll see that he'll just get up and walk away from that arena. So yeah, so Daksha curses Lord Shiva, right? After that, what happens? With seeing that, Nandishvara gets upset and he starts counter cursing. And what does he say? He gives the list of things. He says the followers of Daksha, they will study Vedic literature, but foolishly neglect Lord Shiva. I thought this was such an important point. Okay, I'll just share my personal thing too. When I came into Krishna consciousness, right, neophyte, learning all of these things, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't need to do anything about anybody else. Everybody else is a demigod. And I know that I may also have been like disrespectful towards other demigods and all that. So when I read this sentence, I'm like, I can relate to this too. Like, so we cannot neglect other demigods. That's a very important lesson for us, right? We understand their position, but we do not disrespect anybody. We have to give the proper, it's not like we worship all the different demigods, but we have to understand they are still a part and parcel of the Lord, and we have to give that respect to them. So yeah, they foolishly neglect Lord Shiva. They will lose their transcendental knowledge. Those who are following Daksha, they will follow the Vedas only in name and seeking only material pursuits. And this curse fructified in the appearance of Smarta Brahmanas. And this is so true. Like, again, in India, it is very common to have the Brahmins who are just there for material benefits. They are literally giving the receipt. Okay, do you want this yajna, that yajna, this one, that one, whatever based on your need? They have a list of things and they're going to do that for you purely for material benefit. And so that's what it is. There is no relationship with the Lord or transcendence or anything, really material pursuits. And that's the reason. And I never thought about that. Like, but look at that. Very clearly, the explanation is given in Srimad Bhagavatam that where did this originate? This originated from the curse of Nandishvara. As Daksha behaved on the bodily platform, and then he also cursed that he will get the face of a goat. And then we will see that, right? Because also think about that. Goat is really not considered like a high animal or anybody. Like we do speak about the cow, we speak about so many other animals, but goat is like of, nothing, so not much value given to goat, I guess. So that's how he gets the face of a goat later on. That the followers of Daksha will be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money from begging from door to door simply for the satisfaction of the body. Again, very important point here, right? There is no discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. So as we hear from our teachings and everything, right, it is so important that we eat vegetarian food that is offered to Krishna and have the prasada. But other than that, anything that we eat otherwise, it is really a sin. And we see the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also, that when he ate a mango that wasn't offered to the Lord, he gave up mango for the rest of his life, because he was like, I have committed such a big sin by not offering it to the Lord. So I don't even want to eat mango anymore in the rest of my life. So very important instructions here. The followers of Daksha, all of these are curses given by Nandishvara, that the followers of Daksha, acting from the material platform, acting from the bodily platform, that was the big thing. Okay, so materialistic really. And then here, so then Bhrugumuni's counter curse, what happens is that he now started saying what is going to happen. The followers of Lord Shiva become atheist. They will imitate Lord Shiva. they will have matted hair, decorate their body with ashes, wear bones as ornaments, and all of that, right? Eat flesh, drink wine, blaspheme the Vedas and Brahmanas. And then in Shiva Purana, it is stated that Lord Shiva will appear as a Brahmana and preach Mayavad philosophy. And we know that that was Shankaracharya. He came in and then he started preaching all the Mayavad philosophy. Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha states that those who worship Lord Shiva as independent of Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot bypass. They are definitely going to get Bhrigu Muni's curse. So that is why, as I said earlier, that we have to understand Lord Shiva, all the different demigods, but we have to understand them in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and definitely respect them. So those were all the curses and counter curses that happened. And so now in this verse, right, now Srila Prabhupada, did you see how long Srila Prabhupada explained about the Vedas? I mean, it was the one verse explaining about the importance of Vedas, but Srila Prabhupada took it so like really giving the detail of everything. So we have to know that the Vedas, first he explained about how they are Apurushaya Shabda. Apurushaya Shabda is like, it is not coming from any ordinary person. And Srila Prabhupada kept emphasizing it is not coming from Brahma. Brahma is the first living being, but it is not coming from him again and again, right? So we have to understand that Krishna is the source of everything, and this is coming from Krishna. So that is the Apurushaya Shabda, coming from the transcendental source, coming from the origin of everything. And then second important point, purpose of the Vedas is really to understand Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 15:15 says, it does talk about the first two verses, and the last two verses says, Vedesha sarver aham eva vedo vedantagrat veda ved eva chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedas and I am the knower of all the Vedas. So Vedas is really like even Bhagavad Gita, right? It is like a manual for us. It tells us how to live our lives. And it is really for us an inspiration also to go back home, back to Godhead. So we also, when we learn the Vedas, right, it helps us learn about Krishna. Who is Krishna? Otherwise, can you imagine, like, how would we even know who Krishna is unless we were to learn the Vedas? So that's the other thing too. We learn about Vedas. We learn about Krishna. We also learn about the compiler, who is Vyasadev, above from Vedanta Sutra. So we do all of that. And the Supreme Lord, he has, so originally we know, right? We turned our face away from Krishna. We are here to enjoy. We are here. But then here comes the Supreme Lord giving us everything. How do we go back? He provides us with everything in day-to-day life and everything. Plus, he also gave us the Vedas just so we can learn them, understand him, and then go back to Godhead. So that was the other thing I also wanted to specify, right? We know that Vedas are considered as our mother. Spiritual master is our father, and then he connects us to the Vedas. Vedas is our mother. So whenever we want to know, when in, it's always in the scriptures, it is quoted, right? When somebody, a kid wants to know who the real father is, who do we go and ask? The mother. Exactly like that. We go to the Vedas and try to understand who is the father. And then the role of the Vedas, the role of the mother is then to connect us, the lost souls, connect us with the Father, Supreme Lord. So that's what that is. And then going on really, talking about here again, by performance of Vedic rituals, discussion of Vedic philosophy, worshipping the Lord, we are able to connect back to the Lord. And then these are also the steps given, right? From the Vedas, what happens? We understand who we are, Sambandha, what is our relationship with the Lord, and then it explains to us what is the process, that is Abhideya, and then what is the ultimate fruit. Also, we know that is the Prayojan, and Vedas give us all the answers. I was also thinking, right, this morning, how we were reading about the chanting, all the different verses. They are also referring, all of them are being quoted through Srimad Bhagavatam and all of the different Vedas, right? If you saw that, even chanting of the holy name, we know that is the way how to connect with Krishna and will take us back to Godhead. But how are we learning that? We are learning that from the Vedas. So that's exactly it. I mean, it's so important to understand the significance of that. And then Srila Prabhupada also goes on to explain that the Vedas also explain about the Varnashram system, right? The different system that's in there. And he's saying that it is really a bridge. We are here in the material life, and that our goal is to get to the spiritual life. The Varnashram system is the bridge to connect us over there. And then ultimately, Srila Prabhupada concludes with saying that if somebody wants to really go back to Godhead, they have to follow the Vedas. There is no other way that we can here. See, the last section, it is said that you have to follow the Vedas, otherwise we are just going to get, further down and down. I mean, really, there is no hope for us otherwise. So really holding on to the Vedas. And our good fortune is that Srila Prabhupada has really broken it down into such simple formula that we are able to follow and understand all of this. Otherwise, with that verse and just the translation, would we even understand all of this? Because Srila Prabhupada has explained everything so nicely, that's really for us to do that. And with that, I would like to end. Thank you so much again for giving me this opportunity. Please forgive me.